Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options and Play video update. And I've mentioned this before, but we only have like a few major earnings this week. We only had a few big names last week, and actually looking ahead, we're only gonna have like a few big names next week as well. So while the calendar is kind of light, there are still some names to focus on like each week, and as we get into earnings season, it'll be even more so. But I mean, right now it's still a little bit light. So when you're looking for potential earnings plays, the list is pretty small. So coming into the week, I had already had circled Micron on the calendar because I knew it was going to be like a big report. And last week, when I was looking at the stock, I mean, I was noticing that it was acting kind of heavy, right? I mean, it was threatening a breakdown, but it had just rolled into like a major support range, and knowing that semis were acting better, right? Also, the last couple quarters have been pretty solid on Micron. To me, it seems kind of like a ramp into the report candidate. Normally, for a ramp into the report candidate, I like to have three things line up. I want the technicals to be bullish. I want the stock to or the company to be coming off at least 1 to 2 good solid quarters, and then I want the overall sector to be acting well, right? So in this case, last couple quarters have been great. The sector, semis, and tech in general have been acting great. The one thing that was kind of missing was the fact that Micron technically was not the best, but there was also potential, right? Because it had just bounced off a pretty big support range. And I thought if it could start to bounce, it could be set up pretty well because it seemed like expectations were low, option pricing was low, and again, coming off a couple good quarters, and the overall sector was acting well. So I thought it was like an interesting Ramsden report candidate, right? So now that it started to bounce, right, and the way we approached that was with like short-term options, the trade's been taken off. Going into earnings, now totally different strategy, right? Because you've already had a really solid bounce, and now as expectations go from maybe a little bit lower to now a little bit higher, the trade changes, right? Like, so now you need to weigh what's the setup, right? So options are priced in at about 4 points, give or take, and now the stock has already had a pretty big bounce, almost like a 10% bounce just over the last week. You want to say like, okay, are the expectations swung more to the upside where it has to be an absolute blowout to really trade higher, right? And that's why a lot of times when something works as like a ramp into the report, oftentimes I'll just be locking it in because, if something really rallies aggressively into earnings, and that's the whole idea of a ramp into the report, then sometimes those can lead to more sell the news, right? And that's like something that we've seen in the last few quarters a lot, is that the more stock rallies into earnings, the more likely it is that it's kind of like a sell the news or responds kind of poorly, right? So there are opportunities out there, right? I mean, there are some big names and there are some good setups, but you have to be selective and you have to really fit the strategy to that setup, right? Like, are you looking for a run ahead of time and then you dump ahead of earnings, or you look for an actual earnings play, right? So, things to look out for. But I just want to like talk through what I was looking at in Micron because it was one of the names that we were just involved with that worked pretty well. And I want to say even though there aren't a ton of names on the earnings calendar, there are still opportunities. All right. So, if you like this video and you're looking for more information about these ramp into the report trades that I'm always talking about, please follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options and play. Hope you have a wonderful night, stay well, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.